Okay, guys, so a couple days ago, I went to go watch Marvel's Thunderbolts, and I know I said I would make a like review. Let me just turn down the volume real quick. So I would make a review about the movie, and I know I haven't made it yet. I'm sorry, I've been busy just kind of going over some other things going on the past couple days. But today I'm actually finally gonna talk about the movie, actually give you guys a review about it. But of course, before I continue, this is actually a spoiler review, so if you guys don't want to get spoiled, don't want to, know about the movie or anything that's going on with it, click off the video and go watch it before you come back and, well, listen to this video. But today, because like I said, I'm gonna spoil the movie in my review. So anyways, let's get right into it. I've already warned you a couple times. This is your last chance to leave if you don't want to get spoiled. But anyways, I'm about to get into the review right now. So, what do I think of the movie? I think the movie is great. I liked the movie. I had such a fun experience watching it. It did feel like an old MCU movie. It had the vibes, it had a darker vibe to it. I do like the fact that it does really kind of go over mental health. It is actually a very interesting topic that they decided to go over and kind of, just make the whole movie about mental health. Very interesting choice. It's not a bad choice. I thought it was pretty good. How they did it was done very well. All the characters in Thunderbolts were pretty great. These were all characters I didn't really seem to care about too much, but now this movie actually made me care about the characters and actually made me like the characters. I thought it was done really well. And another thing I think that was done really well was how they handled all the characters. And yes, I'm also going to include Taskmaster, because if you guys have seen the movie, which obviously, you guys have because you're watching the spoiler review, Taskmaster dies instantly. And to be fair, I'm okay with that, because I don't like this version of Taskmaster. I don't think this is the real Taskmaster. Especially how, Taskmaster was handled in the MCU. I just don't think this was the right way to go with him. I honestly think they should have just stuck to the comic version of him and not switched it up like they did and ruined the character. So it's a good thing they just got rid of the character, because they realized that Taskmaster was a mistake and how they did it, and they're like, hey, let's just fix the issue real quick and let's just kill Taskmaster right away. And I was like, you know what? Cool. Good. Thank God. But of course, I've been hearing some leaks about what the story would have been if Taskmaster would have lived, and I'm not gonna lie, it would have been goofy. It would have been pretty funny. Like, it pretty much, the storyline they were gonna have was Taskmaster was gonna have memory loss, and she was gonna try and kill John Walker the whole movie because she would forget her memory. So kind of like as something, just kind of like a little funny moment, But it would have been funny, but whatever. I'm just glad this version of Taskmaster is done. The villain, Sentry, mainly the Void, or I guess what everyone knows him as is just Bob. Uh, Done really well. I like him. I think he's a really great character, really great villain. I think how he was portrayed when it comes to covering mental health was done really great. And honestly, I think they did a good job with the villain. Honestly, I think he was a good villain for this movie. Of course, our characters didn't just beat him, through just fighting him. They beat him by just kind of pretty much working together to try and like help Bob mentally. Because like I said, this movie is more about mental health. Um, so yeah, it definitely seemed kind of strange how they did it, but like, you know what? I'm not complaining. It was done pretty well in terms of what, them trying to get their message across, to the audience, like put it out there. Like we got the point, which honestly, that's a good thing. They did a good job with that. Let's see. Um, I like all the characters, especially Yelena. She was done really well. John Walker's U.S. agent was done really well in this movie. I like what they did with the character. I thought Ghost was okay. Ghost was eh. Like she was there. She was pretty cool fighting alongside the characters. Uh, Red Guardian was also pretty cool. Like, I liked what he did. He was pretty funny. You know, really cool character in the movie. You know, not really main focus, but he was more of the, what is it? The comedic relief character, which is okay. You know, he was pretty funny in this movie, I gotta say. I like how he was in this movie. Um, Obviously, Taskmaster was only there for like a minute. I'm okay with it. I don't like the character, so, you know. I mean, I feel bad for the actress, because, I mean, I'm about to get to a bigger spoiler here soon, right now. So, I'm assuming when they read the script, you know, they were probably all excited to find out that they were going to become Avengers, because the whole thing about the Thunderbolts is actually they all become the new Avengers after they beat the Void. And, you know, obviously, I'm assuming the actress probably read she was going to be an Avenger, but probably, you know, got sad that she wasn't because she got killed off. But, what are my thoughts on them becoming the new Avengers? Honestly, I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, granted, you know, people are saying they might also become the West Coast Avengers and all that, you know, but none of the characters were on either team except for Bucky. Yeah, I think just Bucky and US Agent. I think Bucky and US Agent. Bucky was on Thunderbolts and like US Agent was on the West Coast Avengers, you know. That's it. Like the rest of the characters weren't on like any team in the comics, you know? Like they were just like this show or not the show. This movie just pretty much put them all on this team which have pretty much never worked together or ever been together in the comics. I think like Bucky and US Agent probably were. But like they never were like on the team together in the comics, either like the Thunderbolts or the New Avengers or even like the West Coast Avengers, you know. It's just kind of weird, you know, they chose to do that. And like, you know, it's cool. I like the team. I just think it's a weird decision, especially since they're like there's gonna be two Avengers teams. There's gonna be the new Avengers and then the main Avengers because Sam Wilson is gonna make his own team, which I've been hearing as is kind of interesting. I mean, Sam's team is gonna be obviously him, Shang-Chi, Ant-Man, She-Hulk, uh, trying to think who else, like Ironheart, America Chavez, you know, and like it's not a bad team, you know. It's just not that exciting, and I understand that in the post-credit scenes, you know, they were done pretty well too. Uh, I mean, I get that Sam is upset about them being the Avengers because, I mean, it's made by the government, you know. It's pretty much everything that Steve Rogers was fighting against, you know. So I get it, you know. I get why Sam is not happy about it. But yeah, overall, I think the movie was pretty good. You know, I like all the characters and like, you know, the when the Void was attacking New York and all that. Like, I think that was done really well. I like it. I really like that sequence of the movie. I thought it was done pretty well. You know, the Void was a great villain. The scenes where they all went into the Void, like all the different, you know, memories and all that that the Void was creating, I thought that was done really well too. I thought that was a cool sequence because it's like, you know, kind of made you think like, man, how are they gonna like beat this guy? You know, it just kind of seemed crazy how it all went down. It was done really well. All the character development for mainly Yelena and Bob was done really well in this movie. I actually really like Bucky in this movie too because I mean, Bucky was the one that was always going through stuff, you know. Now he went from the guy going through things to the guy helping people deal with their mental health problems and all that, you know. I thought that was really cool for his character and his development as a character, and that he's leading that team now. You know, I think that's really cool. I love that for Bucky. I think that was a really good way to take his. That was a great direction to take his character in my opinion. I think that was cool. You know, it works for the character. And I'm just happy to see that Bucky is doing better now. And now he's helping others deal with their problems. I think that was cool. Very well done. Uh, so yeah, Bucky didn't have much of a role other than that in the movie, and that he was just pretty much leading the characters. But, yeah, no, other than that, Bucky didn't have much of a role, kind of sucked. I wish he was in it more, but you know what? To be fair, Bucky doesn't have any, like, a lot of, not even any story left to tell at this point, so, you know, it was just cool that he was there. But yeah, the post-credit scene's pretty cool. I know I touched that a bit, like a little bit, but I want to talk about the other one before I go back to the original one that I was talking about. There was the other post-credit scene was very goofy. It was kind of like Red Guardian interacting with some woman, and kind of letting her know about the new Avengers being on a cereal box, which that was about it. It was really goofy, but that was the first post-credit scene. But the other one where they're talking about being the new Avengers and that Sam Wilson doesn't accept them being the Avengers, you know, and it hates that. You know, it makes sense, you know, when you really think about it. Because like I mentioned, that was pretty much everything Steve Rogers was fighting against. He didn't want the government to take control of the Avengers. So he's against that, you know, makes sense. But they go into the last part of the post credit scene because they're in the new Avengers. The Avengers Tower was bought by Valentina, whatever, and she she pretty much made that tower the Avengers Tower, and you know it's cool and all, but you know they're in the tower and all that, and then they get an alarm, and they're like, hey, a spaceship has just showed up in space, and they're like, okay, let's go see what the spaceship is. You know, they turn on the TV screen. You know, the camera's up in space, recording the ship coming in, and it turns out, you know, as it turns, there's a 4 logo on it, which pretty much shows us that the Fantastic Four have arrived into the main MCU universe. And that's how it ends. The post-credit ends like that. And honestly, that's pretty exciting. I know that some people are mad that it does kind of spoil Fantastic Four. But let's be honest here, I mean, the Fantastic Four were going to come into the MCU anyways. They were going to be there in Doomsday. Like, I don't know what people are expecting, you know? They were going to show up regardless. It's cool that they finally are showing up, and we're going to see their own movie and see what happens with them, and see why they end up going to the MCU. What happens to their world? Do they win against Galactus? Do they not? We'll see what happens, because, like, some people are saying that their world is, well, gonna get destroyed, but who knows? Maybe their world didn't get destroyed, and they actually, like, travel through the multiverse, because I'm assuming this is build up for Doomsday, so I'm assuming they're after Doom, you know, and they're gonna come work with our characters and fight Doom. I don't know. We don't know. We're gonna find out, I think, June when the movie comes out, or July. I can't wait to see the Fantastic Four. I will watch that movie and make a review on that one. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this review though for Thunderbolts. I give this movie like an 8 out of 10. You know, pretty decent movie, pretty good movie. But yeah, anyways, yeah, that's gonna be it for the review. That's gonna be it for this video. And if you guys made this far into the video, I hope all of you guys enjoyed. And thank you all for listening to this review. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, guys.